Well, hello there. Welcome to the Obi Thorn Alliance. I'm Jacob.
And I'm Luke.
And today's video, we're reviewing Blue Beetle. Stick around, like and subscribe to hear about the review.
Okay, so Blue Beetle, let's start off with the plot of this movie. I'm going to do it this week because Jacob, you'll find out why he doesn't want to talk about it later when you hear his opinion on this movie. So Blue Beetle is your standard comic book story. I hadn't heard of Blue Beetle.
There's been a lot of those.
Yeah, I haven't heard about Blue Beetle prior to this, but the trailer, I was kind of hyped about it. So basically, in a nutshell, we've got Exolo Mandana playing Blue Beetle. He is Jamie Reyes. He's a college graduate. He loses his job. He gets promised a job by, basically he defends this rich girl that's about his age. She's getting yelled at by her auntie. She goes, I'll pay you back. I'll help you get a new job, because he loses his job from that. He then is given this item in a food container and said, don't open it. Whatever you don't open it. He opens it and it's this beetle looking thing called a scarab. It then chooses him as his host and he gets powers. The powers are kind of ambiguous as to what they can do and how powerful they are, but he as the host becomes next hero that's going to fight and defend Earth. Through that, basically the villain is, we've got the Cord company who this girl that gives him the scarab works for, but she's kind of the good person. They are building military weapons and they wanted to harness the power of the scarab to try and build more military weapons, which they could then sell and make a lot of money off. And the Jenny Cord, the one that gives him the scarab, she doesn't want to do that. That's not what the company's about. That's not how her family started in the beginning. They wanted to do good with with their wealth and their power they had. And basically he comes up against a character called Carapax, which is a version of this like robot thing they want to build to make super soldiers, and they have similar powers. So I'm not going to ruin any more of what happens, but it's a typical superhero story where the hero gets their powers out of the blue, not expectingly, has to learn to use their powers and fight against an evil corporation that is trying to either get rich or make military weapons. Very cliche. So is there anything I missed out of that? I don't think I summarized it really well, but I don't know if it deserves a better summary.
No, it was a pretty good job. It very much feels like a Transformers movie, and if you've seen it, you'll know what I mean by that. It very much focuses on the humans more than the interesting alien tech scarab, what for me was very frustrating, but unfortunately that's what the writers decided to do.
Okay, so we're going to get into the scores now. Okay, so with the scores, what do you give the plot out of 10, Jacob?
For me, this is a very low 3 out of 10. I did not enjoy the plot with this movie. I have seen a lot of superhero movies in my life, and for me, this was very boring, generic, seen this quite a lot of times, didn't do anything new except for the scarab, and like I've said, they did no background on the interesting scarab, or why the scarab even chose the human host. What for me was like, they need a other origin story of explaining the scarab, and for me, the writing didn't do a good job of why did he even choose the host. So for me, the plot was terrible, so that's why I got that score.
Yeah, I gave the plot a 4, very similar to what Jacob said. The scarab, we could understand that it's something they wanted, but why was it? It was already possessed by someone already owned it, and then they obviously was trying to hide it, because they mentioned several times that, oh, is this another fake spear? Is it actually going to be in here this time? So someone was hiding it from them, which we later kind of get told who was hiding it, and we don't really get explained why he got given the powers. If it was just as simple as if someone touches it, the scarab enters your body, but it was made clear that other people had tried to get the scarab to connect with them and intertwine as the host, but it didn't work. But this character was chosen, and it's not like in
He's special.
Yeah, well, it's like in Shazam, we know why he gets chosen to be Earth's mightiest hero, because they believe that he's like pure of heart and like defends the little guys. Where like there's no reason for him to connect as their host.
Just because he's Mexican.
Well, that could be it, but I don't know, because we don't know if the scarab is tied to Mexican origins or laws. We're under the impression that it's alien tech. I don't know, it just would have been nice to understand why, or just go, well, he was a pure heart and he deserved it. I think it wasn't really explained. So there's a lot of plot holes. The family being involved was a bit over the top. They tried to use them too much. There was a bit of strange humor, like constant jokes about, like you don't ever see the main character nude, but they make several references to it, or he kind of is, but they just don't show it. And I was like, I don't know what kind of funny joke, why they think that's funny. There was lots of product placement in terms of Toyotas. They kept showing Toyotas in it, like Toyota Utes. Yeah, there's lots of plot holes in it, so it's could have been better. I don't know how. I'd like maybe they didn't have much to work with, but it was definitely poor. So a 4 for me. What about the acting?
This is actually the highest score they get. So I felt like all the actors did what they were supposed to do with the scripts that they given. The acting is what kept me engaged, and the actors did a fantastic job. And the actor from Cobra Kai, he nailed his performance, but he was a little bit annoying at the start with telling the Scarab not to engage and kill the enemies. What I was like, why? There was no engagement with why he would do that, but still the acting was great.
Yeah, I gave the acting also an 8. I thought they all did good jobs. I actually liked the characters. I just think that it was either predictable or nothing unique about it. So, but the acting was definitely good. What about the presentation or experience of this movie?
Visually, this gets a 5. Visually, this was an amazing film. The fight battles, everything was cool. We've seen the Scarab's action scene, seeing what would come with the Blue Beetle. But experience, I was bored out of my mind. The beginning was very boring, and then when we even got to the he didn't even want to be a superhero. So they even confirmed, why did the Scarab choose the main character? So very mixed with that category.
Yeah, I think the same. I gave the presentation a 6. It visually looked well, but it just felt a bit clunky, and I think it's more the plot that caused that than anything, but walking away from it, the experience was quite low. I wouldn't say I was quite as bored as Jacob, but I did see it in 4DX and I was getting thrown around heaps. So I think it's one of those movies that works with 4DX because it turns an average movie into just a slightly above average movie. But if I take away the getting sprayed with water and getting thrown around, I probably would have thought of it even worse than what I rated it a 6. So what do you give the ending?
The ending, this gets a 6. It does the typical guy gets girl, the good guys win. It's a happy ending. It's definitely not an ending that I personally would have liked a different ending, but the ending's fine. And then we get the ending cutscene that could possibly lead to future things, but personally, it's not a great ending.
So I gave the ending a 2, which is the lowest score I think I've ever given an ending. I think it was so super predictable. You know, boy ends up with the girl. The villain, like the real villain, suffers her consequences and dies. The evil creation they created, he ends up, like, all along you know that he's gonna do the right thing because he carries around his little, like, the picture on his necklace, and he had a family. He was mistreated, you know, it was like Frankenstein's monster kind of thing, and you know, like, he doesn't mean to be the way he is, and just everything about it was predictable with the ending, and and really we got nothing out of it. The company decides that they're going to rebuild everything and help out the poor neighborhood. It's just exactly what you thought would happen. So it's extremely, like, just predictable. So a 2 for me. What about the originality of this movie?
This gets a 2 as well. This, for me, except for the Scarab, nothing really original about it. I have seen this storyline quite a lot of times, and I was not very bored with this. Originality, it does not do well. It copies, it borrows, and it does not do a good job except for the Scarab aspect.
I gave the originality a 3. I think I like the adding in the Hispanic and Latino element and what that would mean to people within those communities, and I thought that was really cool and different. Whether it hit the mark or not, I can't comment on, but other than that, the rest is a very generic superhero story, nothing new to offer, and really no room to grow either. So I gave it a 3. How appealing was this movie out of 10?
This gets a 6. I think a lot of people, it's a superhero movie, a lot of people want to see it and be entertained. So for its appeal, I think a lot of people would enjoy it. But as a overall movie, I think not everyone would want to go and see it, the movie, because it is coming out on a streaming service, and I'd recommend to watch it on that.
I gave it a 5. I think it wouldn't appeal to too many people. Superhero movies are kind of dying off now. People are getting a bit fatigued about them, and then this offers nothing new. So I think its appeal would be low. I think you'll get a lot of people in the Latino, Hispanic communities go out and see it, but whether or not they would have liked it's another story. So I think it's a 5. How recommendable is this movie?
This gets a 5. Obviously, with the superhero community, you're going to get those people wanting to watch it, but to people that don't like that, they obviously not going to watch it. So it gets in the middle of the recommendability.
My recommendability, I gave it a 6. See, it's that unrecommendable. I don't even want to talk about it. So it's a 6 for its recommendability. Only because I don't. It's a fairly simple story that I think I could easily go. Go see it. It's not going to be good, but you're not going to be bored. But you're not going to walk away wanting to watch it again. So I think I could convince people to go watch it once. But in terms of watching it again, it's another story. So a 6. So what about rewatchability?
I might want to watch it again if I feel like just relaxing and not thinking with my brain. But there's so many other things to watch. It's probably not going to happen, so it gets a 5.
So I gave it a 3. I generally have no interest in watching it again. I think I already know the story, and I think it had some really silly elements in it that I'm not interested in watching it. I don't regret watching it the first time. I did enjoy it, even though the scores don't show that, but I have no interest in watching it again. So what's your final score, Jake?
It gets a well-deserved 50% out of 100. I don't think it does anything different or anything well factored in the superhero genre. I think it's very mediocre and very boring. I was very bored in the movie, except for the Scarab aspect and the acting. Those two elements gave it the middle, but they don't even focus on the Scarab. So for me, it's a very mediocre movie. It might even get the award for the worst movie of the year.
So I gave it, mine worked out to be even less than Jacob's at 46, which I think is the lowest mark I can think of I gave to a movie. But I don't think it's the worst movie I've seen. I don't really know. I guess when I break it down, it works out to be a 46. My first thought when I walked out was, that was okay. I'm glad I saw it. I enjoyed it. But ultimately, when you break it down, I wouldn't watch it again. Maybe it's just I had low expectations. So it met its expectations, but the expectations were so low that the score ends up being low. So I do still think you should go see it, but I don't think you're going to love it. But there is 100% worse movies out there you could go watch. So easy watch, maybe that's what makes it okay. So 46%, I don't really know what more to say about it.
Well, comment down your thoughts about the movie. Do you disagree? Do you agree? Be very interested to know. As always, you're awesome, and keep being awesome, and like and subscribe. There will be videos at the end. As always, keep being awesome. Bye-bye.
And how rewatchable is this movie?
You're gonna...
Oh, my recommendability.